Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Tuesday, and we're going to start looking at the model runs, the new ones that are coming in. First, the NAM model, so we can focus in on what's going on today, and also the first weather system that will be producing some possible snows for the area from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island, southeastern New York, and southern New England. This will be for Friday, and I think this is the weaker, in terms of the meteorological profile, it's the weaker of the next three systems that we're going to be looking at. So first off, we've got changes to get there, and we do have a cold front that is setting up for some possible strong thunderstorm activity today across the Tennessee and Ohio Valley. You can see it here. This is kind of an unusual storm. It's very, very intense in terms of pressures, down to under 970 millibars. But in terms of precipitation, it's not really all that big a deal. There's some showers here ahead of it, and yeah, there's some showers and some strong thunderstorms ahead of the cold front here. But there's not a whole lot of snow going on. It's not as if anybody got buried out of this. You wouldn't know it. The pressure tells a totally different story from what's actually there. I think part of the reason why is that the Gulf of Mexico has been such a boilerplate when it comes to providing moisture lately. It really hasn't been doing much of anything for quite a long time. But that's for another subject matter for another day. So, we've got this warm front that's trying to push through up into the northeast today, and you can see it here on the surface map in terms of some of the temperatures. Is still holding in the 40s throughout much of the area from northeastern Pennsylvania on up into southeastern New York and New England, while we're starting to get into some upper 50s and 60s now from southern New Jersey down through Maryland and Virginia and West Virginia. So that's that warm air trying to move in. It's also already moved into western Pennsylvania and parts of western New York. So you kind of have a bit of a hairpin warm front here. When we say we call it a hairpin warm front because it's sort of shaped like a hairpin. It moves up, it's kind of passed up here, then it snakes down, and it's kind of like this. And that's because the cold air likes to get trapped to the on the east side of the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, and as the chain runs down southward from Pennsylvania down through Virginia and West Virginia. So cold air likes to get dislodged in here. And likes to get lodged in there, and then the warm air tries to dislodge it. So it has a lot of trouble. It has not that much trouble at all coming at it right along the immediate coast and coming at it from back in through Pennsylvania and Ohio and into western New York. So it's this area right in here that oftentimes gets pinched in with cold air, and sometimes in snow situations, like snow to rain situations, that can be very important. Okay, so we'll go and switch back over to the NAM because I want to get to what's going to happen. So we've got this front approaching, and there'll be some showers tonight into about daybreak tomorrow, sometime between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. and all the rain leaves. Weather conditions improve. Should be a pretty good day. Might even get into the 60s tomorrow again before the colder air starts to come in. And then you can start to see a little nose of lower pressure here that begins to drop southward out of the northern plains, and you get a low that forms in northern West Virginia with an area of snow. And the last two runs of the NAM model have gotten a little bit aggressive with this in terms of the precipitation. Nice little low that it has southeast of Atlantic City and south of Long Island. So it's going to be, I think, a narrow band of snow that we're going to be dealing with here. And I will switch now to the GFS model because the GFS and the NAM started doing this last night. Now, what I want to see is the Canadian and European show something because they really haven't been showing very much with this. And we'll just back it up on the GFS. And actually, the GFS is a little faster. It would have precipitation starting here probably around or before midnight Thursday night, and that the bulk of this will fall overnight into Friday morning. In which case, you'll accumulate. Some of this stuff is going to accumulate, and then it actually even still has it snowing here Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And at this point, some very cold air is starting to come in. So I'm thinking that temperatures may wind up falling into the 20s at some point during Friday morning as this little wave develops offshore, because this is a very cold big high that's coming down, and that is a fairly aggressive shot of cold air. In fact, the measure of this cold air mass is every bit as cold as what we had last weekend in terms of how far south it gets. And now we start to see, at least we're out to 96 hours now at this point, so we're into Saturday, and we begin to see the snow from the next weather system, that is the Sunday, Monday system. But you know what? We're going to give the GFS a little bit of time to add a few more, instead, we're going to go to the upper air. I'm going to widen out, and we'll look at the weather around the rest of the country, and we'll come back to this. So this way we'll have more to look at. Now, one of the things that I've noticed with regards to this first weather system for Thursday night and Friday is that there's a little bit more of an indentation here in the strong upper air vortex that's dropping down. In other words, there's a trough that's in here, a short wave, and it looks like what the model seems to be doing is that it wants to strengthen that short wave to some degree as it moves east, and it's being a little more aggressive with that. Both the NAM and the GFS are doing this. The European to a lesser extent, the Canadian to no extent at all, but it's important for this to happen because this is the catalyst that brings down that cold air mass. You've got that big cold high coming down, so something in the atmosphere is responding to this. And I'm going to widen out and go to the full U.S. view here, and you can see it a little better at this point. But here's that. This is a very cold flow on the jet stream, this northwest flow, and right in here you see it starts to kind of bulge out. And there's a good little short wave that's right in there that the model's trying to strengthen a bit as it goes by. Now, at the point that it really gets really strengthens, this low is long gone. But this is the catalyst that brings down the cold air, and we're now into Saturday evening, and we can begin to see at this point right in there we've got that next shortwave trough, and that's going to be the system for Sunday. Now, one of the keys with this is whether that shortwave trough holds together and tries to strengthen a little bit as it moves eastward, so that you have a nice definitive kink in the flow, or does it become fractured and just kind of carries along and really doesn't amount to very much, and everything gets suppressed way to the south. That has been the model trends over the last couple of days. But remember, this is Tuesday and we're talking about Sunday, so we've got 5 days here for models to do to change and start to do different things. And remember, back in January and February, we had 2 pretty important snow events in the Northeast, all of which really did not show up until they were inside 60 hours. And it was only in that point that the models began to reverse whatever early trends it had and suddenly started seeing things that it didn't see before. So, we're early in the game. We're still early enough in the game. My general view a lot of times is when the weather models put snowstorms out 7 days in advance, they're not going to be there. So it's almost pointless to look at them. But let's back up. I want to give everybody a chance to look and see what weather is going on around their neck of the woods. And here's that low again, that deep low that's sitting up in south central Canada, well north of Lake Superior. That's a really wrapped up low, very intense, but it just doesn't have very, there's snow up in Canada, yes, but it really didn't do very much as it was just way too far north to begin with. But its circulation dominates a large part of the United States. I mean, it's really affecting the weather from the Rockies all the way to the East Coast, just that one system. Now we have something coming into the Pacific Northwest, and this is going to be the first catalyst for the catalyst for the first event here for Friday, as some energy runs out of there, and you can see it suddenly appearing here at this point, and you still have more energy coming into the Pacific Northwest going into the weekend. California looks like it's in good shape for the most part here, as everything is kind of shifted to the north. So here's that cold high that starts to build down, and now we have the next low that's getting ready. Here we are at 96 hours. So this is Saturday morning. And now by Saturday evening, we've got snow into extreme southern Ohio, Kentucky, southern West Virginia, Illinois, southern Indiana, and some heavy snow in western Kentucky. Changes even into a little bit of ice in Missouri. St. Louis might see some snow. I don't know that they've seen any snow this winter so far. It's been such a drought of snow over many areas of the middle Mississippi Valley and parts of the Midwest. But the low here looks further south. Here's that big high, that big sprawling high coming down from the north. And I just want to compare this to last night's. So we'll look back. Here's last night's. I mean, it's even further south. The low was in northern Mississippi last night on the 0Z run. On the 6Z run, the low is in central Alabama. Did I get my state right? Let me look. I want to make sure. I always want to get these right. Low. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. It was in northern Alabama. The on the 0Z. On the 6Z, it's a little bit further south, and on the 12Z, the low center is even further south. It's almost into southern Alabama. There's a lot of suppression going on because you can't have it both ways, folks. You've got, we talked about this big block that has developed, and I know a lot of people that follow weather here in the Northeast, especially, are very big on blocking patterns, and they rule out snowstorms when we don't have blocking. They seem to automatically think we can have snowstorms, on infinitum when we do have blocking. It doesn't work that way. One of the big problems is you have blocking, which is great, and you have signature blocking in the spots that you need it in, but there's two issues. If the block is too strong, that's going to push the jet way to the south, so you're going to have weather systems getting suppressed. And, the other issue is the position of the troughs and ridges and the strengths of these systems as they come down. If they're not strong enough, you're just going to deal with fractured systems that move through and never really gain momentum and never really, swing up and around. Instead, they just get kicked out to the northeast. There's no one, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no one magic bullet, I guess, that dictates that as long as you have this one element, everything else falls into place. It just doesn't. Blocking is great if you like snow and wintertime weather, but you got to have a host of other things going on in order for snow events to really play out. So based on what I'm seeing here from the GFS so far for this second system, I'm thinking that, this weekend storm, which, by the way, when we think back to what the European did back several days ago, showing this, blizzard along the East Coast and putting in some 20 and 30-inch amounts all over the place, has gone a totally different route altogether because of the fact that, it misread the strength of the blocking. It misread the effect of the troughing in the West, and these are things that are all game players. So you have to look at everything. You can't look at just one thing. Now, having said that, I'm still going to look for this to see if it winds up trending northward as we move into the next three days or so. It seems to me that this is about as far south as you're going to be able to get this to trend. And what I would be looking for, and we're going to go to the upper air now, because this is where that game is going to be played. What I would be looking for, here's your trough here is relatively weak. You've got a number of short waves running around where you don't have them merge together, and you don't have that one good strong shortwave trough for this system to play on. So you wind up with a low in a situation like this that moves pretty much well out to the east northeast, and that will bring some snow, by the way. We should focus on the fact that it is going to be bringing some snows in areas that really didn't see very much snow this winter at all. But in terms of the weather for the mid-Atlantic, the northern areas of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, what I'm going to be looking for is to see whether this trough is stronger down the road, and if the one in the northern stream is either weaker and non-existent, or if it's faster and winds up being more of a player here, where rather than have these two systems move through as weak separate entities, they would, in the unlikely event, and I think it would be unlikely for this scenario to happen, that you would have more of a phased look. That's kind of what the European model did back over the weekend at that one point where it made this mega blizzard up the East Coast, and that was silly. But I want to look to see where this is going. One of the arguments against a phase like that would be the fact that in the West you do have a ridge, but it's not really all that strong. There is some ridging there. You would want that ridge to fly all the way up the West Coast to some degree, and that doesn't appear. That at least does not appear to be happening. Just 1 second here. So we're going to take a look and see. Let me go back to the GFS before we wrap it up. The new GFS. So let's take a look at that. So actually, when you look at this from the surface standpoint, who's going to get snow out of this? Especially, it seems like the mountain. Now that low being further south puts the northern areas of North Carolina in play for some heavy snow. Northeastern Tennessee, perhaps the southern areas of Virginia, where that dark blue is, Danville, Roanoke, perhaps Lynchburg, those areas down into northern North Carolina. If this thing shifts any further south, and then we have a low that's sitting just southeast of Hatteras with heavy snows in northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, with snow up into southern New Jersey on the new GFS. And let's see. And then see how it moves straight east. It doesn't lift north. It goes straight east because we don't have something here to kind of dig down and pick it up. So that, for now, that seems to be the case. Let's see what subsequent runs do, because you know what? The system in January was kind of like this, and it was shown to go out, and it wound up pivoting back northwestward. And the one in February, also same thing, wound up pivoting back northwestward, and that one actually wound up affecting areas further north and west than the one in January did, with 1 foot plus snow. So you never know with these things. We're going to watch. There's plenty of time. And there's also another system behind this for early next week that looks like it might travel near or just to the south of the New York City, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. So there seems to be a sequence going on here of weather systems. As long as that blocking pattern signature tries to hold up in Greenland, that will be the case. So we will wrap it up here for the day. Download my app and subscribe to my latest forecast for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York City, New Jersey, Long Island, Pennsylvania, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. Oh boy, I'm really a mess today. So New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, New Jersey, and Eastern Pennsylvania. All right. It's only Tuesday. Check out the latest website posts at meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Angry Ben has the New York City perspective on nycweathernow.com. And if you're with me this long today, 18 minutes, I hope you like the video. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and it does me a huge, huge bit of good if you do become a subscriber, because Google likes YouTube channels that have lots of subscribers on them, because then they treat them better. They distribute my videos more, and they're nice to me. So you'll be doing me a huge favor if you would become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And my YouTube videos will always be free, and you get at least one new video a day, and sometimes like on Sunday, you get 2 weather videos and 2 videos on how to make meatballs. So everybody have a great rest of your day and be safe. We'll talk to you soon.